Okay, now this time what we're up to is making the cabinets for the van. I've got some things on the bench here and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put all this together. Let's have a look. Right. What we're going to do is screw these uprights through the cross members and fix all of them together. There's a few of them to do, so what I'll do is just get that set up there. I've got some glue, and the idea is we're going to glue and screw all of these together. So what we're doing first is this framing for this cabinet, then we'll do this one, then we'll do the other sides, and then we'll see about doing the cross members to actually make up the cabinets. So the way I like to do this, and that's rain in the background, if you can hear some strange noise going on there, it's chucking it down, rain, and very windy today. So we just want a little bit of glue on there. We want to put that together like that, and I think it's always a good idea to clamp these down so that the faces are flush when screwed, like so. Just make sure I've got a spot on there. That's good. We'll check that with the square. That's good there. Right, tighten that clamp up. Then we have a drill to put a couple of pilot holes in here. Fairly large 70mm screws. They'll go right the way through there and they will hold that very secure. Okay, that one's good. Now the next one here is the rebated one. So we're going to put that in there, line that rebate up like that. As I say, this is for the 5mm ply, which will be the dividers in this cabinet once it's ready. Right, so same thing here, we just want a bit of glue on there. Put that one in place. I want to make sure that this rebate is lined up nicely. Clamp that down. Couple of pilot holes and screw it all together. Okay, got all the frames made. This one's good. We've got the rest of them over there. They are ready to go. So the next thing I want to do here is consider the drawers for this. There's going to be a drawer here, and a drawer here. The fridge is going in there. So I'm going to take a look at that and figure out how deep I want the drawers and where the rails will go for them. So there's my question: how deep do you want these drawers to be? Now the depth of a decent drawer, let's say, is going to be 12. We'll try 12. And what we want with that drawer is a little bit of air on either side, so I'm going to actually make that 14. So I'll mark that at 14. And that means that the drawer would be 12 deep, and obviously the fascia would go over that. I think I'm happy with that 14. Yes, we'll try that. I'll mark the rest of those out. Alright, so I've marked out for the drawer there, and I've also put in the width of the batten, which will be going in there. And now what I want to do is find the centre of this here. We're going to put a catch here on the door in the centre, and we're best routering that out before we put this cabinet together. We'll also want catches on the top here where the drawers are going. So I'm going to mark all of them out, and then I'm going to router them. Just much easier to do before we put this whole thing together. Okay, so I've got all of those marked up on for the catches on the panels that we're making, and what I'm putting on is this type of catch here. These are very good. Going to keep the doors nice and tightly shut as you're driving along in this van. So that's what's going on. But to put them on, this is like I don't know, like the side of a door that I've sort of mocked up here. And the idea is we have a cut out here. The door will sit like that, and then the two, you can't pull them apart. Press it again and it'll come away. But what that needs then is a cutout similar to this on all of the framing, and the way to do that is with the router. So what I'm going to do is set the router up. I'll test it on this scrap, make sure that I've got the setting right on the router. This has got to be the right thickness here, If it's not, the doors will rattle a bit, and if it's too much, it'll make the catches very tight. So we want to get this as close as we can. So I'm going to set the router up, test it on a piece of scrap. Once I've got all that set up properly, we'll get the frames back up on the bench and we'll route out all of the rebates for the catches. Let's go. Okay, I've routed that out. This is the little piece of scrap. And if we put this on here, like that, that is good. That's a nice tight fit. That's going to do just fine. So I'm happy with the setting on the router. I'll get the frames back up on the bench and we will get on with that one. The idea is get this like this. So we have all of these cut out, all look good, up the top ones, and I've done the rest of the frames as well. Now what I'm going to do is flip this over, and at this point we can put the dividers in for the drawers here. Okay, so I've got these drawer dividers on this piece of the cabinet, and I believe that's all of the cabinets prepped, or the fronts of them prepped anyhow. So the next thing we want to do is sort out the base for this, and then the struts, which will run sort of this way. So we need to make a 9mm base for this one, and we need to make a 9mm base for the sink cabinet as well. So I'm going to get out into the van and measure all that up, then we'll cut some wood up and we'll start on the next phase of this. Alright, so I've got a measurement for the bottom of these cabinets, and what we're going to do is take this piece off this 9mm ply and then we'll cut it to length and look at putting the cross battens in, which will screw into the floor. But first we need to whip this off with the circular saw. So here we go. Next thing we want to do is just cut it to length. So I'll line up the frame with that side, make a mark here, and then we can cut this off. Okay, so having cut this piece to size, I'm now going to offer it up in here and see if it needs a little bit of nibbling. I think it will around the centre column. It'll need some little pieces taken out to get around this. So we are going to position this on the floor. That's going to hit the wheel arch as well by the looks of it. Yes, it is. And this wants to go 5mm, 5.5mm away from this thing here, because this is where the side of the cabinet itself is going to go. So what we need to do is figure out how much of this to take off the side so it's going to fit around the wheel arch nicely. And we've got this piece of column here which we need to get round. So what I'm going to do is mark all that out and whip them off, offer it back up, and once we've got that sitting nice and snug, we can then do the cross members on here for the uprights in the cabinets. Okay, I've cut them out like so, and that's a nice snug fit there on the wheel arch. Very pleased with that. So I'm happy with this one. What I'm going to do is just nip back in the workshop and do the same thing for the one which goes over here, and then I think the next thing we need to do is put the feet on this, the thing which will lift it up like this. We need to put them on first on the floor, and from that we can get the finished height to put the back batten in. Okay, so having cut both of the bases, next thing to do is, as I say, these cabinets are going to stand like that, and they're going to have this recess here like a toe plate. So what I want to do here is make a series of sort of stands very similar to that. These would be 100mm high, same as the ones on the bed, and what we want is the length of these, and it's going to differ because one of them is going to hit the wheel arch, one of them hits the pillar in the van, and the other two should be more or less the same. So I'm going to go into the van, I'm going to take measurements for them, and then I'm going to make a series of these and stick them on the floor. Okay, I've been in the van, I've got my measurements for them to the chop saw. Now I'm going to make these out of the same material that I've been using for the frames, which is 44 by 18, and I'll just make all of them, then we'll look at getting them into the van. So I've cut all of these things to size. Very simple procedure to put these together. Let me just clear the bench a little. The cross members, we just want to put a couple of pilot holes in, like so. These are going under the benches and will never be seen. So I've got some of this wood which had a little bit of paint on it and stuff like that, but that's going to be absolutely okay. We'll put that down towards the floor. No one will ever know. Now, we just want to put that on there, dab of glue. Where's my glue? So, a little bit of glue on there. Very good. We'll put that on there, line it all up, get it nice and square. That's good. I've got some of these 40mm screws, might be a little excessive, but that's what I've got to hand, so I'll just use them. And it's a matter of just screwing all of these together. Okay, I've got all them done. They're ready to go. We'll get them lined up in the van. Okay, so having made the legs, what I've done with them now is stuck them in the van, and there they are. I've put this frame on the floor just so that we'll get them properly aligned with all of that, and they're looking good. What I want to do now is find out the place where the back rail goes for this. That's an important thing to do next, because we need to get the measurement of the cross struts, and we need to know how far they need to go from the top of the cabinet to the back of the wall, and they will be joining up with a back rail on there. So we need to get the back rail on. I'm explaining all of this because far too dark in the van to actually film anything. Okay, so having got the legs in, as I say, I'm now going to, if we can place this up, I've put the 9mm bottom on there as well, and I want to place this frame on there, and then I want an accurate measurement from the floor to the top of this frame. And the other important thing is to make sure that this is square with the floor. So I'm just going to move these covers, get the square on there, and then take an accurate measurement of it. There it is. So this is sitting on the rebate that we did earlier, and now we can get a measurement from the floor to the top of there, and that is indeed 84 centimeters. 84 centimeters. So now we can take all this back out, measure 84 centimeters up the wall, and that's where the back batten will go. Put the back rail on, and I've squared this frame up with the floor and secured it, temporarily secured it into place, so I can take a measurement from here to the back rail, from each of these uprights to the back rail, and then we'll be able to cut the cross members for this, which will tie it into the wall. The bottom one's quite simple. It will just go with the 9mm ply that we've put on there, but these are all going to be different. So I've marked them A, B, C, D, E. I'm going to measure them accurately, and then we're going to get cutting that stuff and putting this whole carcass together. Okay, so I haven't cut all of these cross struts. These are all for the top. That's top A, top B, etc. I'm going to fit them onto this frame. Alright, so I've got this clamped up just to hold it steady whilst we put these on. And again, same procedure with this. We want a little bit of glue on here. If we can get it out of the tube. There it is. That will go on there. And I've already put pilot holes and countersinks through the other side. So I'm just going to whack some screws in there. Actually squared up on the corner. Couple of screws through each of these, should hold them for now. Okay, to do the bottom section of this, I'm going to put the ply on, and then I'm going to put these struts coming out this way. But what I've done is I've squared it up just with a temporary brace, because it will be flapping about a bit until we get the dividers in here. Once they're in, it's going to be absolutely solid. But whilst we're constructing that, Just want a couple of things to keep it square so it's not flapping about whilst we're trying to drill into it. Okay, we're just getting a good line of glue along this 9mm ply. We have the various battens here, and the idea is just to fix them into there. We'll keep this braced up and then we will measure for the inserts. So this side here tells me that is A and that is bottom A, so this one is going to go on there. We'll get some of these 70mm screws and secure this to the front frame. Very good, very good. Now I'm going to continue all the way along with this and then we'll get on to cutting the inserts. Okay, let me show you what we've got with this. We've got all of these bottom struts on. That's all very good, and I have squared it up and braced it on each of the internal compartments. So this means at least I can move it a little bit without it flapping around too much. So what we're after here is measurements for these internal panels, and obviously we've got from here to here plus our depth, which is 5mm on either side, and then we want to take it from here, this point, and we want to take it 18mm past that to fit round the back plate that we've put on. I've cut these to size, nice tight fit. Now let me just get this in here, take that up there and show you what we're doing. Now the back batten for this is going to sit like that, or is sitting like that on the wall. So I want to take this little corner out of here, just so that'll fit snugly. Now I haven't placed them in, they're not tied in as yet, but they are placed in. What I'm going to do is this side panel here. Let me see if I can get this camera placed somewhere. There, I've got a view of that. I believe so. This is the side panel, and it's a very extraordinary shape. This is a cutout for the wheel arch, because this is going to hit the wheel arch. This will be the front of the cabinet, then it'll come out to go down over the bed structure, and then we've got the cutout for the heel plate that we did for the bed itself. So that was quite a feat of measurement and nibbling, but it is done and it's looking good. So what we want to do is temporarily fix this to the side of this cabinet. The way I'm going to do that, I'm just going to mark where the battens are, drill a couple of pilot holes and put some screws into that, and that will hold the whole thing nice and square. Okay, and with both of those end panels on, we can now actually get round to gluing these and securing the whole thing up. And to do that, what I'm going to do is just get a line of glue in these rebates. Now the panel should just slide into there. Okay, that's good. Nice and flush with the top and nice and flush along that edge there. That's good. Right, I'm going to do the other two of those, then I'm going to brace this up, make sure everything's square. Now we'll put it to one side and let it dry. Okay, so that's all of them in, glued up nicely. I've put braces on top of them just to pull them together, keep everything nice and square. I've checked all of these corners and they are square. So I'm going to whack this on the floor. Then the next thing I want to get on with is the top cabinet for the driver's side of the van. What we have here is the frame for the top cupboard. Now this is more or less the same sort of construction. Let's have a look and get some light on me. But here we're having a 5mm ply base on it, and the base is going to be 220mm from the front of the cabinet to the back of the wall. So I'm going to cut a piece of 5mm ply for that first. This would be the length of that and 220. Look how cold it is in here today. I can still just about feel my fingers though, so we will continue. Now what we have here is I've been in the van and I've cut this 5mm base for these top cupboards to size. It just needed a little bit of scribing to get it around the central column, and it needed a little bit off that end, just where the where it goes into the metal section of the van, right in the corner. What we need to do is place this piece on. You may recall we have a rebate going on there, so we can place that on there, make sure it's right nicely tight up to that, and then we can get hold of the pencil. We need to mark where this is hitting these uprights, because what we're going to do is put the cross struts in the bottom of this. Okay, so just to show you what we've got here, I've fixed the base to the frame. I've put these cross struts in. Now the next thing I want to do is, I'll get these squared up like this, and I'll put some braces on to keep it square, because that will have to be square when it goes into the van. The rain did stop for a while, and I thought we were in for being able to get this done, but now it's started to snow, so we may abandon this. I've got the thing up in the van. I don't know if you can see that, probably not, but I've got the top cabinet up and I've got it supported with some uprights. If we get a little bit better weather, I'll show you how I'm doing this in detail when I come to do the other side, but I think if I'm very lucky I might have enough time just to get a template made for the cross struts in that. That's what I'm going to try. Okay, it was a valiant attempt, but it's not going to work. There's just too much rain. The rain's coming in the van. There's very little light in there and everything else. So we can fall back onto the main cabinet now and look at getting the drawers in and the other structures that we need for the fridge housing and for the electrical panel. Okay, so I think what I'll tackle first with this is the drawer runners. So I'll measure the length of those, get them cut, and then see how we're going to fit them. Okay, so I've cut a load of these at 40 centimeters. Let's have a look. This is going to go in here like this, centered for the drawer. I'll square that up, I'll put a couple of holes through it, and then I'll screw it through from the opposite side. And we will do that with all of these things for the drawers. This one will be a little bit different. That will fit there nicely, but this is going to need a little bit of packing behind it. But that's okay, we'll get on with that. That's the first one of those on. I've had to cut some blocks to put under there just to get that flush with the front there, but that's okay. They are nice and secure, screwed in from this side, and we'll cover those holes up with a little filler. Alrighty, so the next thing to tackle is the fridge. Now let's have a look. Let's get around the back here. We have this lip to contend with, and what I'm going to do is put a couple of battens down here, just where the feet of the fridge will hit, and that will lift it up a little. Then we'll slide it into position, and we've got some lugs to put on here where the fridge screws through into the cabinet. So the first thing I want to do is just cut these battens. I'll just use a bit of 3x2 for that. Secure them to the cabinet, then we'll get the fridge into place and get on with the rest of it. Okay, so I've got the fridge in here, and that's a nice snug fit in there. As you can see, that's just standing on the battens that I've just put in. That'll also give a nice little bit of airflow underneath it. I will make some holes in the back of here for airflow as well, and there is space along the top. So I'm pleased with the positioning of the fridge. It fits very nicely in there. We've just got a couple of mil either side. Next thing we want to do with this though, these fridges, the way you fit them in is under here there's just a couple of screw holes, and the idea is you would screw that through into the framework. Now that looks to me, I'll just go around this way, if you can see that, that looks to me as if it may hit this frame, but again it may not. So what I'm going to do is mark where these are, and I'll just put a small lug of wood in each position, so when it comes to actually screwing the fridge into position, there'll be plenty to screw it into. Okay, so just to finish up on the fridge thing, just this, I've put these lugs on there, you see, so when we screw the fridge in, if it misses this batten, it will hit the lugs. Right, now battery box. What I'm going to do with the battery box, I'm going to cut a hole in here to take the battery, because obviously this is raised up from the floor, this isn't actually on the floor, and we'll have space underneath where we can put the battery. So the battery will only come up about here inside the box itself. Then from that we need to take this side back off and figure out where to put the other electrical components. So a few things to do there. First thing to do is get the battery, draw around it, cut a hole. Okay, I've got this marked out on the floor for the battery. Drilled a few holes in it. Now I'm just going to whip that out with a jigsaw and then we'll get onto this panel. Okay, so the main unit is going to sit here. I'll just mark where the screw holes are for that, which is there, and the fuse box will sit quite happily there. So what I'll do is I'll use this piece of scrap that we just cut out of the floor. I'll make a little plate for the fuse box itself, and then that will fit on there nicely. I've got them cut. Now what I'll do is just square them up. Now I can drill a couple of holes through here. That will sit just there. Very good. Right, I'll screw this one and then I'll put that one in. Probably best if I do this just over the side of the table from underneath. And just to make absolutely sure that is going to fit on there just fine. Right, next one, we want a piece of this ply to take the fuse box. This in the same way. I'll put a couple of screw holes through here, put a bit of glue on, and then screw this onto the board. Okay, I've got this side panel back on. Happy with that. Still a decision to be made about this shelf in here. I think I will do it, but there's other things I would like to get on with first. So that's about it with this cabinet. I'm waiting for the drawer runners. So what I'm going to do, since that we've got a decent day today, no rain at least, what I'm going to do is see if I can get back into the van and do that top cupboard. Okay, let me see if I can show you what I'm doing with this top cabinet. We have it positioned in there, and that's all looking good. We need to make this piece here, and then we need to measure for the various cross struts that will go across this. Alright, we've been chewing away at this piece of plywood here, and I do believe we've got it at this point. So back into the van, and give me 1 second. Right, that's going to fit on there like that. That's a nice fit, nice and square on the front. Happy with that. Now I also want pieces to go between these, and I'm going to be better off making these first and then putting the battens on top, because they're on a slight angle and I'll have to chamfer the front of that. But what we want to know first off is how big to make these. So to do that, what we do know is that our batten on the top is going to come down here like this, which would make it there. And then we do know also that there is a 5mm rebate in that batten. So if we put the ruler on there, we've got 5mm. Right. So essentially what we want to do is follow that line on that line, so to speak, if you know what I mean. So that will come this way, and then we can cut these off flush at the bottom. And to do that, I'm just going to try to transfer these marks from here, from the template that we've got, which is going to be there at the bottom of it. And if I slide that way a bit, it's going to be there. Now we can pull that down, put that back on my mark, and draw that line in, and then we can pull it this way, keeping it flush on the bottom there, and we can draw that line in. Now, all being well, if we cut this out, it should fit in there and give us enough room at the top to put the batten on top of it. Okay, I think this seems reasonable. If we put that in there, it will slide in like that, and if we put our batten on top, we have a 5mm rebate, and that will sit flush with the top of that. So I'm happy with that, and do the same with the rest of them. Okay, and with them done, they are all sitting there quite nicely. Next thing we want to do is just make these cross battens for them, router them down, stick them on top. Okay, so just on putting this together, very similar to putting the main cabinet together, we just want to line the glue in these rebates and some on the face. That will sit on top like so. All good. Now we just want to drill through into here. Very good. Now we'll use this, you see, to screw the cabinet to the ceiling. So I'll put some holes through there before we do that, and when we get it into the van, we'll just screw that straight up into the ceiling. Right, I'm going to do the rest of these, and then we've just got one more thing to do with this cabinet. Okay, so the last thing to do is just put the light holes in here. There's two lights going in, down lights going in here. So I'm going to put a hole just there, another one in this compartment here, and then I'll look at, I might just put a little false bottom on there, so that the light doesn't get damaged or the wiring disturbed when putting stuff in and out of this cupboard. Okay, I've just offered that up into the van again, and it's all looking good. So very happy with this. We've got the main cabinet finished, we've got the main top cabinet finished. What I'm going to do is get on with making the cabinets for the other side, which would be for the water and sink, and the one which will go above the bed. It's exactly the same procedure, so I'm just going to get on and do that. Next, what we will do with this is, as I say, we'll get the drawer runners in, we'll make the drawers, and then we'll start on the doors and drawer fronts. But for this video, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see how the rest of this van turns out in the future, do consider subscribing to the channel. Good news as well, as I might have said that the foam and fabric came a little while ago, so I'm going to get that measured up over the weekend, and I have someone just up the street actually who's a seamstress who has done a couple of vans for me now. Always very good work. Then all of this is going to come together pretty quickly, I say. So thank you very much.